Welcome back to the Beyond the Bestseller podcast. I'm your host, Kelly Shuknecht, and today's guest is Dr. Christie McMullen, author of Learning Can Stick. Welcome, Christie.
Hi, I'm so excited to be here, Kelly. This is going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah. So can I call you Christie? I always feel weird when the doctor is before it. I'm like, am I supposed to call you Dr. McMullen? How do you go? Like, what do
No,
you go by?
Christy is perfect. As a matter of fact, when I got my doctorate, our very first class, the woman that was in charge of us spent 30 minutes of our very first class going, "What would you like to be called?" And I remember looking at her and going, "Christy, like that, that's not going to change." So no, just Christy is fine.
Okay, got it. All right, so I want to start out by talking about your book. So, Learning Can Stick. Tell me about your book and why you wrote it.
Yeah, okay. So this was probably 15 years in the making, but I am a 26-year educator. And what I have learned in my 26 years is that whether you're teaching adults or students, every one of us is an educator all day long. And yet, many of us, particularly in the business sector, have never been taught how. And so I knew that I had some skills that needed to be transferred into the business space. And so that's where Learning Can Stick came from. The book, the subtitle is How to Make Every Learning Interaction Safe, Logical, Fun, and Memorable. And so I believe that if you do those four things, then magic happens, right? But how do you do those things? And how do I make sure that people feel comfortable when they're in my space? Because I think, every meeting is a learning opportunity, every conversation is a learning opportunity, but we don't always assess it as such. And so we talk at people instead of with them. And so this book is meant to help fix that.
I love that. So I just spoke at an event on Saturday, and I was thinking about the fact that like I know how to put together a presentation, like I know how to, make things flow. I kind of was observing some of the other presentations that day and kind of noticing how, some of the stories people were telling didn't quite, I couldn't quite understand how in their minds that fit into what they were, trying to teach so I was thinking about that though, like how, my mom and my sister are both teachers. So I feel like they learned how to teach, right? But like I never learned any of that. I just kind of am going by just my own experiences and what I think is going to help people and how to structure things and whatever. But anyways, I like it's interesting how you tie that into like in the business setting because it's so true. I mean, we don't really get training in how to put together a good presentation and how to teach something. So how do you help people kind of learn that? Like, so if you were at that event and somebody was maybe, I don't know, telling these stories that didn't quite fit or whatever, like how would you help them approach the planning for doing a talk or, giving some sort of presentation?
I am so glad you asked because that is truly something that our company does. So, my husband and I and two friends have started a company called Intentionality Group. And the idea is if we are intentional with everything that we do, then life's change, right? And so, our biggest motto is if you don't make work fun, people quit. But the fun piece is building a space where people feel valued and appreciated, where people know they have a voice and they're allowed to use it, and where people are able to leverage their talents for the greater good. So, one of the key components that we do is we go into conferences and we train those who are speaking at conferences on how to make their presentations stick. Because here's the reality, you have a conference and you've got 30 people who are going to speak, and they are experts in their field, but they don't know how to get their point across. And so they have 95 slides for a 1 hour presentation, and every slide has 500 words on it. And then they read it to you, and you're like, oh, that was bad. And I really wanted to know what was there. So, safe, logical, fun, and memorable is how we get people to present in a way that is sticky, right? So here's how that works. So safe does not mean like physically safe, although you don't want anybody to trip over a chair either, but this is about psychological safety. So the psychological safety premise is that people know they can make mistakes, people know they can ask questions, and they know that it's okay to not know the answers. So how do you do that in a 60-minute presentation? You greet people at the door. You learn their names. You give them something for nothing. You have music playing so that the room feels a little more lively. You make them laugh in the first few minutes. And all of those are teachable things. Now, I have a big personality and I know this about myself and I own it. But something that I have done for truly 19 years is, and I grabbed the wrong thing, I give scratch and sniff stickers to adults. So if you were to come into a conference with me, the first thing that you would get from me is a do you want orange or apple or peppermint scented sticker, and people get to pick because you feel safe when somebody makes a connection with you. So that's the first thing that I would teach them. The second thing is logical. So you mentioned that story that has nothing to do with the price of eggs, right? And yet that happens a lot. Do you have a plan for this 60 minutes? Are you the only person who knows the plan, right? So the phrasing that I use is you have to have a plan, you have to stick to the plan, but you can't be the only person who knows that plan. So you set an agenda and you say, all right, we're going to cover these three things while we're together. What are the three major things you want to cover? Not the 87 that you thought you were coming in with, because no one will remember anything. Instead,
Mhm.
that logical piece is breaking it down into chunks. And all of this is in the book, like the specifics, because as an educator, you learn, okay, I get 1 point a day. What's the one thing I want people to walk away with? So that logical piece has lots of components, but ultimately it's how can I give the information in a way that people can receive it? So those are the
Mhm.
first two. What questions do you have about those two? And then I'll tell you the other two.
No questions yet.
Okay, okay.
Keep
Just didn't
going.
want to get long-winded. That happens.
Yep.
Okay, so the fun. Fun is so important because our brains only fire neurons when there is some sort of emotion tied to what's happening to us. So, like if I asked you where you were on September 11th of 2001, we remember if we were old enough to remember. My kids, though, are 24 now. They don't remember because they were 7 months old. So, when there is an emotion tied to what we're doing, we will hold on to the information. Are you evoking emotion in the people that
Mhm.
you are presenting to? Can you make them laugh? You don't want to make them cry unless it is a good cry, right?
Yeah.
But you want them to feel something. So, how are you doing that? Maybe it's a sticker, right? Maybe it's a song that everybody gets to get up and move to. Maybe it's just a well placed industry specific joke. But people need that emotion to be evoked to hold on to the information. And then I already defined fun in the way I see it, right? It's also valuing the people in the room. Don't assume that you know all the information that needs to be shared. Let them talk to each other. The brilliance is in the room. All of those pieces together make it fun for the audience. Because ultimately, if you do all the talking, you also do all the learning. And the people that you wanted to get that information are walking away with maybe a handout, but the handout probably doesn't have what you really need anyway. And then the last one is the one we probably forget the most. And yet, when I say it, you're going to be like, well, duh. Like, I wouldn't go to a conference and be the presenter and not want to be memorable, right? I want people to remember me, right? So if you're there to sell your books, for example, then you want them to be so excited at the end that they want to go buy it. But what happens more often than not is we say things once and we think that's enough, and we don't ever circle back to that major idea or concept. So I like to say you have to sprinkle, splash, flood, drip, drip, drip information. And so the sprinkle splash is like a preview to a movie. That's what you would get before you even got to the conference room for the meeting, right? Like that's the blurb in the pamphlet that says this is what you're going to get if you come to my session. It's also an email that happens before the meeting that says, "Hey, this is the thing that we're going to talk about tomorrow." The flood is the event. It's the hour that I spend as the educator in the room, right? It's that conference moment. Problem with a flood is lose most of that information in runoff. You can't absorb it. It's too much. So the drip, drip, drip is the most important part. That's what falls off the trees after the rain. So the drip might be an email afterwards to everybody who attended saying thank you. It's an email 2 weeks later that says, I have this book and I would love for you to, here's the audio version for free, or whatever it might be. It's that circling back to whatever the concept was. So the book, my book, walks you through safe, logical, fun, and memorable. But your question was, if I were at a conference, those are the kinds of things that we would talk about with
Mm.
your personality, not mine, right? Everybody's not the sticker lady, and that is fine. You've got to come authentically you so people can come authentically themselves as well. So, woo, I
Wow.
just said a lot, Kelly. Is that what you wanted?
Yes, I love that. So, yeah, I mean, I was just thinking through like all of that just in because I just came from this event. Like, I don't know if it's good that I talked to you after or if it would have been better if I talked to you before I was there, but
You'll have another one, I guarantee.
oh yes, I will. But well, and just going, having that experience made me think about just ways I can adjust my presentation. But you talked about the emotion. I know some of the stories I told, I had, the like, oh sound, and like people like clapping and cheering at one point. And like those were the things that like when that happened, I was like, okay, this is getting through. I'm, like that engagement with the audience was really I don't know, I was just really aware of that at the time. Um, you mentioned the big person, your big personality, and I think that's something I've been like I've just been trying to figure out about myself because I come from a background where I was working in an organization. I was working in a corporate environment where you weren't really allowed to have a big personality. I mean, you can, but when you're in a leadership team meeting, like nobody really wants to hear your opinion sometimes. It's kind of just like hush hush and just play your role, right? And as I'm coming into my own, I just started my business last year, I'm really realizing I have a bigger personality than I have allowed myself to really lean into because I have just played the role in my jobs, right? Like, so now I'm like, oh, I kind of am this, more excited, more energetic person. And I get to be that now. Like I get to be fully myself. And so anyway, I just want to make that comment about because when you said it, I was just like, yeah, we can own that. We can be big personalities and we can show up in that way. And people with big personalities are a lot more fun on the stage than the people who are just, you know, yeah, quiet and you're just meh, whatever with their presentation. But yes, I love that. I'm going to buy your book immediately after we finish this
Yay. It
conversation
is on
because
Audible too. That was so fun. Have you done an Audible book yet?
no,
Oh my
I don't
gosh.
think anyone wants to hear me. I say this, I'm doing a podcast, like, but I feel
Oh, you'd be surprised. I mean, and you can hire somebody, but what I found to be very cathartic was I wrote my book in 2020, but I did the Audible in 2024. 4, right at the end of 2024.
okay.
And to read it out loud was one of those moments where I was like, huh, that was actually pretty clever. Or, oh gosh, I do not like the way I said that. So it was very cathartic. But what reading it that way, right? Like listening to it on Audible does is it's like spending a couple hours with me, right? Like and I got to put my personality even more into it because that's what I learned when writing my book. So I actually work for a publishing company, and I'm an author coach. And my author coach at this same company years before said to me as he read my first round, like you read, the author coach reads the first couple chapters and gives feedback. And he said, Christy, I need less Christy Kent and more Super McMullen. I said, I don't know what that means, Tom. And he goes, well, he said, this reads like a textbook, but your personality is your superpower.
Mm,
And I don't see your personality in this book yet. And I was like, oh my gosh, wait, hold on. Okay, I had just finished writing a dissertation. You have no personality in that
right.
space. So I
Yeah.
didn't realize I can make jokes. I can be me. I can talk like me. And so I immediately went back in and I I wove a karaoke theme through the book. And so at the beginning of each set of chapters, it talks about everybody can sing karaoke, but not everybody should. However, there are some things you can do to make it safe, logical, fun, and memorable, right? Like don't pick Freebird. It is way too long. Choose a song that everybody knows because then they can be a part of it, right? So that's what I mean when I say use your personality
Yeah.
is that wouldn't fit for everyone, but everybody has a really special gift
Yeah.
and they need to leverage their personalities in all spaces. You're right, corporate America kind of beats that out of you a little bit, but I think here we are in 2025. We're starting to learn that it is okay to show up as you. So I had an experience at a conference not too long ago It was the first time that I had spoken in front of this particular group. And they were Medicare and Medicaid executives, lots of different people. And I met the lady that I was going to be co-presenting with the night before. And she was talking about, okay, well, everyone wears black suits and heels, and, this is the vibe and whatever. And I was like, I brought a bright blue dress and sparkly tennis shoes. So is that going to be a problem? And yet, I know I was memorable in that moment. I literally had people dancing at the front and at the beginning, and somebody came in and went, "Are they dancing?" And I'm like, "Yeah, is that bad?" They're like, "No, that's great." Because I'm me, right? And I've learned to be me. And yes, bold flavor. Am I going to be everybody's gift? No. But I have gifts and I need to leverage those gifts, because if I try to show up as somebody else, it just doesn't work. So those are the things that I'm discovering as I move into almost 50. I'm for a lot closer to 49 than I am to 48, and that's a lot closer to 50 than it is to 40. So it's taken me a long time to own that, but now that I am, I'm like, why didn't I a long time ago? So
Yeah,
I
yeah.
encourage people to do the same.
Yeah, yeah. So, okay, so you talked about you have this book, you have this company, you do author coaching as well. So what with this book, do you help I'm kind of curious about like the speaking coaching part of that. Like, do you do some coaching around, you mentioned going into businesses and doing some things there. So I don't usually ask people about like what they do in their business, but I actually would love to hear just kind of like that range of things that you do and how you help people hone in on their message.
Yeah. So we are coaches for conferences, meaning, you've got like these 30 people, like I mentioned, and they're all going to be presenting on healthcare, and they're experts. But I meet with them, or we meet with them for an hour ahead of time to hone their presentation. How do you make your presentation stick? And we use safe, logical, fun, and memorable as the framework, and then give them time to modify and give feedback afterwards. So that's one of the ways that we
Okay.
coach. Another way that we coach is to go into leadership teams, right, for organizations, and teach them about safe, logical, fun, and memorable. Because here's the reality: we're running meetings all day, right? And many of us sit in 6 or 7 meetings a day, every single one of them being painful. Could have been an email, kind of bull crap,
In the
right?
corporate
Like just
environment,
not.
yes, yes.
So the idea is it doesn't have to be that way. So what is the target you're trying to hit? We use the AIM method. AIM stands for analyze, improve, move, right? So step one is to set the target, a very clear target. What are you trying to accomplish in this meeting? Well, I'm trying to accomplish these 8 things. Can't. What's the 1 or 2 things that you plan to accomplish in this meeting? Once we know the target, we're going to analyze our current systems. What are we doing to hit that target? What are we doing well? And where could we use some help, right? We use what's working well to help with the improve. And the improve is the safe, logical, fun, and memorable. Maybe I'm making it super fun, but it's not logical at all. And so nobody's tracking with me, but we laugh. Okay, great. Did you
Mm.
hit the target? Like, because you didn't if you're not doing all 4, right? Or that safe piece. Do people know that they can ask questions? Because the reality is, if nobody's saying anything but you are walking away with all the information too. And that's not your goal, right? If I'm the CEO of a company and I have a meeting with all of my leaders and I want them to go do X, do they know they're supposed to go do X, or do I know they're supposed to go do X? So we work with those leadership teams, give them the same language, right? Because that's the biggest barrier that we run into. Some leaders were born leaders, they came out of the womb that way, they just get it, and others need some guidance, but we all need to be speaking the same language. So I actually use my second book. So my second book is fun. This is a tiny book. It's called Make Work Fun So People Don't Quit. And that is indeed our philosophy, right? It takes the concepts of learning can stick and makes them super concise and simple, right? So if you're watching this, you can see it. It's bullets from chapters in the book, but then some space to write. And the idea behind this is, if every leader in your organization had one of these, and you talked about how you are applying that safe, logical, fun, and memorable concept to your meetings, then you can hold each other accountable. And I can say, hey, you know what? You are crushing it in the logical side. I know exactly what to expect in your meetings, but you know what you haven't done yet they're boring, right? Like there is zero emotion evoked. And so I might know what's coming, but I'm doing laundry at the same time. Like I'm not, my camera is off. I'm
Been there.
not. Yes, exactly. We all have, right? So, how do you fix it? So, your question was originally, how do we work with companies and use this concept? The concept is universal. I've done this with mortgage brokers and real estate agents, and then switched to healthcare and those Medicare and Medicaid people, or lawyers. I've worked with a team of 12 amazing women who have this wonderful family practice, and yet they were not leveraging their talents and they weren't speaking the same language, and now they are. We help you figure out how to take what you know to be true and turn it into action, right? Because that's the last part of AIM: analyze, improve, move. Please, on all things, try something, right? We know better, but we don't do better. I like to say that the knowing doing gap is more of a chasm. We can't jump it. Like I know I should eat salads and be healthy and up my protein intake and exercise and all the things, but am I doing it? Well, business is the same way. I know that my meetings should be interactive, but I just have to share this information. Do you? Because if you're just sharing it for the sake of sharing it, people aren't going to get it. Are you sharing it for the sake of them using it? Because if that's true, then you've got to change how you
Mhm.
deliver that information. Does that all
Mhm.
make sense, Kelly?
Yeah,
And did that
yeah,
answer your question?
yeah. I think so. What you were just talking about makes me think so much about like how leadership or companies don't realize how much. Okay, what am I trying to say? So I have been thinking about this a lot, like how I know in my role, I have been a good leader, but that leadership skill, and the reason I'm talking about this is uh, we like my husband and I see that in people we own multiple businesses. So like in some of the businesses, we've seen that like there's a thing about being a leader that like is really intangible that people don't necessarily understand that a really good leader can come in and change the dynamic of the team because that like you said they can make things fun, they can they can just get people on board with new ideas, and they can help with some of the change management stuff. There's just things that a strong leader can do that somebody else might just be like, what is that person even doing, right? Like they don't see it, they don't understand. But so as you were talking about like making work fun, it's a thing that if you're just driven, you're like, we got to hit these numbers, right? Like we got to hit these numbers, everything has to be down to business, we got to start the meeting and get all this information out like you were saying.
Yeah,
You're like missing a part of that like when people feel engaged in their work and they feel excited about the things that they're doing and they feel like they have a say in it as well.
right.
Like it's not just like somebody saying do these things, right? Like, but they get to kind of decide, how things are going to go and what. Like those things are so valuable to people. Like they really help people feel a sense of community at work and feel, connected with the people that they work with, and so yeah, that my 2 cents on all of that. Like, I have been talking about this a lot recently because I did just start my company, but I'm growing it and I have, we're bringing on all these people right now, and I'm it's hard when you're the owner and you're like, we have
Huh?
these numbers to hit and we got to do things for our clients. And like, but I also know that having a 30-minute meeting where we're just bringing everyone together and we're just talking and like maybe it's a lunch meeting, maybe it's, whatever, we're doing yoga to get like whatever, we're doing something fun. It makes them that 30 minutes is an investment in their happiness and well-being that will carry on throughout the week. And yeah, it is so important. And I think especially as companies grow, they like lose sight of the importance of that.
Well, it's the first thing that gets cut right from the agenda. It's the, oh gosh, well, this person talked too long about investments and now we're 30 minutes behind, so we're not going to do the team builder. A team builder isn't just for fun, right? Like, so I say it this way: people quit things that aren't fun. If you think about it, you don't go back to a movie a second time if you hated it the first time. You don't go on a second date if you hated the first date. But we ask people to come back to work day after day after day in misery, and we wonder why we're not meeting meeting our numbers. Well, you're not meeting your numbers because people are showing up, but they've quiet quit on you a long time ago.
Yes.
And so
Yes.
how do you get the best out of your people? But you said something really important I want to make sure people understand. I already mentioned I'm a bold flavor. This is me, right? Full tilt. I am a slinky, right? So you are either a paperclip, a magnifying glass, a teddy bear, or a slinky.
Okay.
As a slinky, I'm the big idea person. I'm wide open. I actually my neurosignature involves a lot of dopamine. I am out there, but I also have a lot of teddy bear tendencies, which means that I also take care of people. And I ask, when was the last time you took a break? Please take today off. You've been working 20-hour days. Like, what are you doing? Like, let's take a break. So that teddy bear is an estrogen releaser. You are, like I said, slinky, teddy bear. Magnifying glasses are just what you were saying, Kelly, that person that is very task oriented and they're zooming in on the details and like, we need to do this, 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 and this. And the best leaders are magnifying glasses, but they need a teddy bear somewhere that's saying, hey, you know what? We're not taking care of our people. And they need a slinky somewhere that's saying, it was not fun today. Nothing about what you just did was fun. And then our paper clips, oh wait, hold
Yeah.
on. Magnifying glasses are testosterone, not gender specific.
Okay.
But our paper clips are the ones that hold everything together. They're
Okay.
serotonin, right? So they're the ones with the to-do list. They are unbelievably linear in the way they think. They probably have a color-coded sock drawer, right? So that's the person that is keeping everybody like this. The magnifying glass is making sure people get stuff done. The slinky has all the ideas, and the teddy bear is making sure people feel like they belong. Well, you can't be all four of those. There are times when you have to be, but
Okay.
ultimately you build a team that has all four of those personalities, and that's when you become the Avengers, right? So to go back to why did I say all of that? I said it because I think sometimes leaders think they're supposed to be all things to all people, and that isn't realistic, right? Like that's like wearing a mask all the time and then you're suffocating, and that's not a good idea. Instead, I need to know who I am and what I bring to the table. And then I need to bring other people to the table who do things differently than me and have that diversity of thought and a different way of being, because I don't want my accountant to be a slinky, right? Like I need my accountant to be a paperclip and I need them to know everything about what they're doing in linear fashion so that I don't screw things up over here as that slinky. So one, does that make sense? And two, what does that bring to mind for you, Kelly, as you run multiple businesses?
Well, I mean, I primarily run one business, but my husband, we have others there. But anyways, but I feel like I'm everything you said. I was like, yeah, I'm that. Oh wait, yeah, I'm that. Oh wait, yeah, I'm that. Okay, so
You know
is that
why? Because you're starting a business and you
and so
have to be.
okay,
But there's one that makes you comfortable in your soul, right? Like if you could show up as this person every day, you'd be at your best. So
hmm.
of the four, which one are you like, yeah, I thrive there?
So I think when you said magnifying glass, I was like, I think that's probably more me. Although, I have been, as I went from being an employee in a company to now owning a company and growing it, I feel like I'm realizing I'm more slinky-ish than I thought previously because
Mhm.
I wasn't in that role before.
Right.
And now I am, and I'm like, we should do this, we should do this, we should do this, right? And like, but before I
And
was
nobody's
like,
there to say, "Whoa, Kelly,
yeah,
hold on."
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So wait, so is all of this in your book?
Yes, yes.
Okay,
So,
perfect.
in learning can stick. All the safe, logical, fun, and memorable. Make work fun is actually the short one. Is actually where I tapped into the neurosignatures,
Okay.
and the neurosignatures are something that I do when I come into companies. That's the very first thing we do is we identify everybody's personality, and it's not a test, right? I used to use the Enneagram, love the Enneagram, and it was a test that they took, and that was all great and fun. And what I realized is people get so stuck in the nuance that they can't identify, right? Like, so they say, well, I'm this, this, and this, but I'm not that part of that Enneagram 7. So, and they get stuck in the weeds. This
Hmm.
keeps people at this level up here and prevents them from getting so stuck that they're like, well, I'm not any of those. Yeah, you are. Which one are you showing up as at work right now? So I use this example. If I am really, really good with spreadsheets and numbers and data and analytics, and that just, oh, that floats my boat. Don't ask me to be the person that greets everybody at the door because that's not my superpower. Like that is very uncomfortable. I might be able to do it, but then I'm exhausted at the end of the day. Why would I do that to my people? Let people thrive in their space. So, rewinding all the way back to my definition of fun, the third thing. So, valued and appreciated, make sure they have a voice and they're allowed to use it, but you have to leverage their talents for the greater good. If
Mhm.
I show up every day and I'm asked to be the front person and I'm the spreadsheet person, I am exhausted every night. But if you let me live in my unique genius over here and the bulk of my work be in my space, I'm not exhausted. I'm rejuvenated. I'm ready. And I'm
Yeah.
giving you my best, which means our company is getting the best. We miss that if we don't know our people.
Yeah.
So I think that, if I had to sum up Learning Can Stick in one sentence, it's know your people and care enough about them to give them what they need instead of assuming you know what that is.
Yeah.
And
Love it.
so how do you get there, right? Let's give you a roadmap that's actually repeatable.
Yeah. Love it. So, okay, last question on that. So I am an Enneagram 1, I think, whatever the perfectionist is.
Perfectionist. Yep.
So if okay, so what you just said, does that put me in that magnifying glass category probably or
So yes, and so the cool part about the Enneagram, right? There are nine, and you can be a perfectionist and a paperclip, or you could be a perfectionist and a magnifying glass. It depends on which parts of the perfectionist you identify with most.
okay.
But most of my perfectionist friends are either a paperclip or a magnifying glass, and it's because they like order, they like predictability, they are very not legalistic. That's not the right term, but there's a right and a wrong. There's a black and a white. Like
Yep.
this is the way things are, and don't mess with it. And most of our paperclip friends are serotonin releasers, right? Need that. They thrive in the space of this is safe because I can predict what's going to happen. The difference between a paperclip and a magnifying glass is the paperclip builds the list and the magnifying glass makes sure it gets done, right? So the magnifying glass is more of that task oriented. We need to do this and then we need to do that, and why didn't you do this, and let's go, let's get it done, right? Like they're
Mm,
more the
okay.
push to
Okay.
execute, where the paperclip makes sure that all of the right things get executed on. Does that make sense?
Okay. Yep. So I think I'm a clip.
That makes sense. That
Yep.
makes sense.
Yep. Yep.
And that makes you a great business owner, but you sometimes need somebody to come alongside you and say, let's stop thinking about doing it. Let's do it, right? Like, let's stop planning for it. And as a perfectionist, you're probably a whole lot in that space of, I don't want to make mistakes. I don't want to look stupid. My biggest, my core fear is that looking stupid failure moment. I'm going to avoid that at all costs. So I am going to plan the heck out of this, right? Does that feel familiar?
Yeah, definitely. Yep. I think, again, like starting a business has really challenged all of those things I thought I knew about myself and, has kind of, I don't know, just I think I'm evolving, even though a lot of those things are like, it's hardwired in your brain. It's who you
Yes.
are. But I also think changing your environment does force you to kind of be different, like show up different.
Mhm.
So yeah, I don't know. I have to get the book and the workbook and think through all of these things. But
Well, and the power is in the refinement, right? So also understanding that knowing yourself is step one, and then what are you going to do with that information? I have a friend, her name's Joni Pilgrim, and she started a company literally from her garage into a multi-million dollar, really successful thing. And she said if it keeps falling off of your to-do list, it probably doesn't belong on your
yeah,
list.
yeah,
Right. And so when you are a solopreneur and you're trying to figure out how to make things happen, you do get stuck in spaces because you can't, that's not your unique genius. That's not what you are built to do. So you're trying to fit a square peg into a round hole. It'll go, but it doesn't fill the hole. Like it's not doing its
yeah,
job. And we do that to people all the time because it's in their job title, and that's wrong, right? Like, so why with this job description does this thing have to fit here? Could it fit over there because this person's really good at it? Yeah, it could. And so that's the kind of stuff that Intentionality Group does with businesses to just help them evaluate, are you capitalizing on all the talent that you have on your team? And if you're not, why not? Like, what are
yeah,
you doing?
yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, I love it. Dr. Christie, can I call you that, Dr.
Yes,
Christie?
you can.
Um, so this was really, I mean, this was something that's gonna stick, right? I
Yeah.
need to, I need to buy the book and I need to, I love like personality tests and
Me too.
those things like how you work together with people, which is, I love that stuff. So definitely interested in learning more there. So where can people find out more about you, what you're offering? And we will link to the book in the show notes, but any other kind of websites or anything that people can should be going to find out more about you.
Yeah, so Intentionality Group is the name of our company. And if you just do intentionalitygroup.com, it'll take you to our website.
Okay.
You can find the books on Amazon. You can also find them on the website. But we also, anywhere that you see Dr. Christie McMullen, or Productive Joy. So we didn't mention the podcast, but I also have a podcast. My podcast is called Productive Joy, and we're putting stuff out three times a week actually. And so that is another space where you can just get that shot of B12 for free. That might be an easy connection, and that's interviewing brilliant people like you, Kelly, who are doing some really awesome things and figuring out how to turn fun into action. Because I don't think that work and fun should be mutually exclusive. So those are the places to find me.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for coming on,
Thank
Dr.
you for having me.
And yeah, I love all of this and can't wait to share it with other people. So thank you so much for sharing.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Looking for a community of women writers to support and inspire you on your journey? Join the Author Power Circle. Connect weekly with fellow authors, stay accountable, and move your book forward in an encouraging community. Learn more at kellyshuckneck.com.